Let's talk more about today's big Supreme Court rulings with Jonathan Turly, a professor at George Washington University Law School, of course, a frequent commentator on legal issues. Professor, good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, fair to say that you've been a supporter of the president on many issues. How much do you think this is a slap on the wrist to the administration, this Hobby Lobby ruling today, saying HHS can't go this far when it comes to businesses, to corporate entities, religious convictions?
Well, it's been an abysmal 10 days for this administration. It's one of the worst of any modern president. He was found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment on privacy, then another case found him in violation of separation of powers. Now he's been found in violation of religious rights in the First Amendment. It doesn't get much worse than this for a president. This is a very, very rough decision for the administration. This was a very important part of the ACA. And really the administration, in oral argument, had a seriously hard time answering many of these questions. And I think it really showed when they lost Kennedy. But what's also fascinating about this is, where do we go from here? We now have corporations have speech rights. They also have religious rights. It goes beyond ACA. As you know, there's hundreds of challenges of small businesses to discrimination laws. Are those religious rights now going to be reconsidered? And could they trump discrimination laws and other forms of laws? Those are a lot of the unanswered questions that we have.
Yeah, and writing for the majority, Justice Alito seemed to try to assuage some of those fears, saying this is narrowly tailored, it is for this set of facts, it is for these closely held corporations, and those who speculate otherwise, that's not what this opinion is. But then we have the dissent from Justice Ginsburg saying this is a strikingly broad opinion, and sort of examining all the worst case scenarios that could happen. I mean, she's raising the red flag. She says essentially the court, her words, has walked into a minefield. Well,
I have to agree with Ginsburg that the implications here are very large, and people have been making a great deal of fact that it's limited to closely held corporations.
But
there's a huge number of
that's a huge number out there.
And those happen to be the corporations that will ask for the exemptions. The large corporations that you see in the publicly traded ones, they generally don't want to ask for exemptions because it causes a lot of political problems. These closely held corporations are the group that we're all focused on, and there are a lot of them. So I think that you have to keep it in perspective, though. You know, 90% of women are still working for corporations that give the full range of contraceptive protection. That percentage is going to go up, but it's not going to go up to a huge extent.
Okay, you referenced the opinion that we got last week from the court, 9-0. This wasn't a 5-4 split. Telling the administration, telling the president he went too far. When the Senate said it was in session, he had to respect that, and he couldn't make these executive appointments. So a lot of checks on his power, but we want to play a little bit of what he had to say today, because it sounds like, I didn't know how he'd feel about the court feel chastised. He sounded like he was doubling down when we're talking about immigration. Here's a bit of what he said.
The only thing I can't do is stand by and do nothing while waiting for them to get their act together. And I want to repeat what I said earlier. If House Republicans are really concerned about me taking too many executive actions, the best solution to that is passing bills. Pass a bill. Solve a problem.
All right, so the president basically says the legislative branch, one of the co-equal branches under the U.S. Constitution, has left him no choice but to override them with executive action. Where does he go with that? Because now, of course, he's facing this lawsuit from the House Speaker.
Well, it's a pretty surprising statement from the President of the United States. The ink is barely dry on the Canning decision. And, you know, I testified on those appointments right after they were made, and I said I thought they were flagrantly unconstitutional. And to me, they weren't a close question. And for him now to double down makes him look like a bad gambler at Vegas, that, you know, we're going to respond to this bad hand by playing a whole bunch of additional hands. At some point, this is going to cause serious problems for his administration. He's going to start to lose Democrats. You know, the President of the United States can't say the solution to gridlock is you just simply have to resolve it on my terms. There's a reason why we're not resolving it. Congress is divided because the public is divided in these areas.
And the founders knew how this would work and seemed to be okay with the idea of the friction. Professor, always good to see you. Thanks for dropping in tonight.